Hello and welcome to Snacky Buns channel. I have here today the wonderful Chad of Chad is Bored.
How's it going?
We are enjoying our tea and we are going to be reviewing the hottest new movie, Dune.
Yes.
But before we begin our review, I'd like to talk about how I met Chad. See, we were at an airport and I was flying to Australia. And met at the airport, and I said, "Yeah, I'm flying out there." And he said, "Oh, you're flying, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I see what you mean." So, anyway, that's how we met. You know, we have the same interests, same beliefs. After that, we went to a lot of flat Earth conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where we really hit it off.
And so we developed a good bond with that.
Yeah.
But no, the real reason is Chad, as you know, hilarious, awesome creator. And so check out his TikTok, Chad is Bored.
Yep.
Also check out his YouTube, which I will be commenting in this video.
Yes, please.
So, Dune. What do you think, Chad? Let's talk about what we liked about Dune.
I really thought, I read the book, so I thought it really kind of encapsulated and captured what I saw while reading it. Even to a point where I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I saw reading it, because it's almost like it's filling in all the details and the blanks with just like the set design and the props and just like the characters. It's just really good, really great.
That's a problem with some of these movies. You have a great book and they just completely fuck it up.
Yeah.
And see, Chad has an interesting perspective on Dune. He actually read the book because, he's not trash. I am trash. I just watched the movie. I mouth breathed and watched the whole movie. And so from an experience of not having read the book, I really love the movie, honestly. I mean, it was great sci-fi. I don't know if you agree with me, but I just think there's just been a real lack of good sci-fis recently. Like, every time I turn on a sci-fi now, it's the same format, it's the same shit, it's just, it's just a formula. And I felt like with this one, maybe it's because it was from a book, but there was just so much cool detail in this movie that kind of set it apart.
Like the shields and like the knives in combat, like how they have to like go to more archaic methods of war because like the shields and stuff,
Yeah, no, and I want to ask you, speaking of shields and speaking of knives, and for those of you who are watching, this is a spoiler review. So if you want to watch the movie, turn this off, go watch the movie and come back.
Yeah.
But let's just get into this. Okay, so I really liked the movie. I thought the soundtrack was phenomenal.
Yeah, iconic.
Fucking excellent. The special effects were really good. I mean, I'm really sad that I just saw it on a computer screen. But the one issue I had with the movie that I was like, what was that part? Is the knives. Why do they have knives, Chad? I mean, isn't in the year like 10,000 or something, like super in the future?
Yeah, it's like super far.
Yeah, they have all these spaceships that can go like hyperspeed. So why are they stabbing each other?
So they brush up on it in like a really brief scene where like Gurney Halleck, Josh Brolin's character, is like sparring with Paul Atreides, Timothée Chalamet's character. But basically he says like you have to like move the knife slowly and methodically through the shield, otherwise it will bounce off it. So like, the implication there, and it's explained in detail in the book, is that the shields actually block anything moving at a fast speed, so no ballistics, nothing like that. They do have laser guns in this universe, and it's explained more in the book. But if laser guns are used to shoot a shield, it makes like a mini like nuclear explosion, not like devastating, not like city leveling, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly from the book, but to the point where it feels like artillery bombardment. I think in the movie there is like one part where they're trying to like, they're like trying to get away in the ornithopter, and they have a shield on.
Is that the helicopter?
Yeah, where it looks like a dragonfly.
I love that helicopter, by the way.
Dude, that design is straight out of the book.
And it seems like more practical than a helicopter. Like it seems like that would be they were turning better in the movie, and it seemed like that design you'd be able to turn like a helicopter. I don't know. I just thought that was really cool.
It was almost like a halfway between a plane and a helicopter. You know, it's pretty sick.
A little bug thing.
Yeah,
but that makes sense. So you're saying that going back to the knives. Mm-hmm. So in order to pierce through the shield, you have to do it slow. Mm-hmm. If it's too quick, like with a bullet's too quick, it's just going to bounce off.
Yeah, that
explains it. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Like even that part is cool with this movie. I like this movie. Like usually, I a lot of these are cheesy, but this movie kind of came out like really great.
I mean, it's Denis Villeneuve, so like he did like Blade Runner 2049. I think that's 2049. I think that's the date. That's the movie. It's Ryan Gosling one. Mm-hmm. It's the one after the original Blade Runner. So yeah, he directed that one. He also did goddamn, I forget what else. I think he did Arrival, right? With
Arrival's good.
Yeah, Arrival. Yeah, that one's really good. I'm pretty sure he did Arrival. I could be wrong. Actually, let me fucking check. Yep, he did Arrival. Yeah, he did Arrival. Yeah, and yeah, so with someone like him directing, you're definitely gonna get awesome like cinematography. Just like this guy plans out all the shots and how he wants to like tell the story, and it's just always like every single shot's like a screensaver. You could have it running in the background as a literal screensaver, and you'll be chilling.
I felt the exact same way. Like, some of these movies, you look at it and you're like, those are cool special effects. Mm-hmm. This actually did feel real. I mean, even the worms felt kind of real. I thought the worms were badass.
Like, it was intense seeing them coming from so far away in that one scene where like they're trying to oversee like the spice collection, right, with the spice not scavenger, like the spice collector,
right? Yeah
the
big tank thing.
Yeah, I think that was super sick. And I think what Dune does well is also like set design and the music, because like if you think about it, it's kind of similar in quality and how much care they took with it as like Harry Potter. And I think the reason why Harry Potter did so well is it had a killer soundtrack that really made you feel like you were in the world, and also had an awesome set just showing Hogwarts to the point where like people can literally see like the silhouette of Hogwarts and know it's Hogwarts. Right. And I think they're going for that angle, like that amount of care with this movie, and I think you could totally see that.
I think I know what you're saying. It's like they created their own. It's a unique world to its own. It's the Dune world, which I'm excited to see. I'm excited because they created this in the first movie by everything you just said. I'm excited to see the next one, just like as years ago with the Lord of the Rings. It presented to me the Lord of the Rings universe, and I was excited for number 2 as they did with this movie. So
same thing there. A soundtrack, makeup, sound design, costuming, all that is so on point. You can see how much care they took into it,
and the cast too. Because I'm going to be honest, when I saw this movie, I saw that Timothée Chalamet was going to be in this movie. Nothing against Timothée Chalamet, but to me, honestly, he looks like a little boy. And sometimes that, like, it becomes, to me, I was like, well, is this really going to be believable? This guy running around, I mean, he was a badass at the end of the movie. And
when you see, like, his vision of the future, of like where he might be,
or the fight, like the fight scene,
the duel,
and so when I saw the trailer and everything, I was like a little bit hesitant, like is it gonna come off cheesy? But the thing is that they kind of addressed it. They even, I think one of the characters even called him a little boy.
Yeah, Duncan.
Duncan, yeah.
Yeah, Jason Momoa's character.
And it worked. He was supposed to be like this boy king. He was supposed to, you know, because of his race or whatever.
And also, I think because like they really sold the audience on the idea that he was some sort of like, you know, part of some sort of like genetic lineage, like almost like that. In the book, the Bene Gesserit's like basically doing eugenics, trying to get like the chosen boy, right? And apparently he came like.
Wait a minute, Chad. Are you saying that you support eugenics?
Oh no, I don't. I completely don't. It's okay if they're dogs and cats though, because that's how we got like corgis and shit. So,
just for the record, Chad is not a white supremacist. I just needed to.
I'm not. I'm actually like half Korean, so.
And that other half is not supremacist.
Yeah.
The white half. No. So. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to clear that up for our audience.
No,
I think they're a little
confused.
confused.
No, yeah, I saw some like raised eyebrows.
Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah. Apologize.
But yeah, like I think all those elements are and the freaking worm. Like I like how they went with like I don't remember if this was how they were described in the book. I think they were, but just how they have like the baleen type like teeth, kind of like whales have to like capture krill. They kind of have a similar thing where you know, like you see the worm, and when you see their mouth open, it's not like a bunch of teeth. It's like a bunch of like baleen. It's like
it reminded me of a whale. Yeah, the
exactly.
inside of a whale. Which again, it just like it's not just. It felt real. It felt like that's what a giant worm would look like, because they could have seriously fucked that up.
Oh yeah,
they could look so
like
stupid.
They could straight up look like the Alaskan bullworm from like SpongeBob.
Yeah. That's not the worm. That's the worm's tongue. Yeah, that was a good episode. You know, it's funny because you mentioned the Fremen. So the Fremen, they're survivors, right? And it seems like they were able to be on this land that's like very uninhabitable. They're good warriors, and they have tunnels underneath the ground, right? Like all these intricate tunnels. Maybe Viet Cong inspiration there, because this is in 1965. The Viet Cong tunnels. I mean, I guess the war didn't really pick up until the late 60s, but I don't know. I do wonder though if there's any inspiration from, you know, real world events, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the next movie. I think it was a little bit weird how it ended.
It was.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal because it is like titled the movie Part 1, so you know there's a Part 2 coming. But so I don't know. I think that like the fight was cool at the end, and I guess that would be a good point to end. But that was actually one critique I had of it. It didn't seem like as dramatic of an ending of Part 1 as I think it could have. But maybe it's just that's the story. Like someone from reading the book, like, do you think they could have done a better job with ending Part 1?
Honestly, I think ending it there was a good place to end it because later on in the book, like right after the ending of the movie, there is an important event that happens that kind of like basically opens Paul's like third eye or whatever, you know, like gives him like some like kind of crazy like dope abilities, not like superhuman stuff, but just like what he was prophesized to be, like what's been like foreshadowed throughout the whole movie. And I think that is a perfect spot for Part 2 to actually have their like inciting incident, right? And then have that gauntlet of him trying to figure out like all the stuff, and then it has a really good climax for like the end of that part. According to the book, like there's like one event there that would be a great finale for Part 2.
But we're keeping this.
But I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, I think it was done intentionally to end it there, because even though it's kind of like it kind of blue balls you.
Yeah.
I think that I can't think of any other way they could have ended it if they wanted to do like a 2-part thing, right? I'm all for like movies making, movies going like super long, and having massive run times, like like the Lord of the Rings.
Except The Irishman. That movie was too fucking long. Maybe we should do a review on that just to talk about.
I really liked it though, but it was like I feel like it'd be better if they turned it into a mini series.
Not to go off on that movie, but it's kind of like an old relative where you love them and
so
you listen to them, but they just won't shut up, and it's time to end.
Yeah,
it's time to stop.
They should have made that a mini series. To be honest, I think it would have been better.
I didn't think it. Speaking of lengthy movies, this movie was 2.5 hours long. Didn't feel like a 2.5 hour movie at all. It felt like an hour and a half. Well, not an hour, but it felt like I was not bored. I get bored by a lot of movies. It's like that 2 hours, I think, is perfect for most movies.
A lot of people too would expect Dune to be like to slog a little, but they use their time really well, and I think it's paced really well too. Like even my mom, she's not really into sci-fi films. She loved Dune. Like she was so into it. And I mean, that's according to her. I didn't watch it with her, but yeah, she said, wow, I really liked it. Like that was a good movie. And I was like, hell yeah, nice. They did a good job then. Because she was like, yeah, it was so pretty. And it had battles, but it wasn't too focused on battles. And I was like, yeah, like that's pretty good. Because I think what it does well, and you can totally see why it is like the precursor to like Game of Thrones and other stories that are very political in nature. Like you could totally see that in the movie, and I think they like summarize that really well, right? Just kind of like, oh crap, like the Imperium's working with the Harkonnens, and this is kind of like a trap on the Atreides to like wipe them out, right? That whole like that politics game. It's because at the beginning you're like, okay, the Harkonnens are pissed off at the Atreides because the Imperium favored the Atreides to like take over the spice production, right? And then you realize later on, okay, actually, because the Imperium is sending their special forces to aid the Harkonnens in their invasion, you're like, okay, they must be in cahoots. Now I want to know why. I mean, I know why. I read the book, but now it kind of like has that nugget there where people are like, okay, why the hell did the Imperium send in their Sardaukar, their special forces, with the Harkonnens,
Yeah.
So it kind of like makes it super suspicious, and I think it's a good way. They're keeping all these threads open for the second movie, and I think it does a good job of getting people to be hyped for it in a way where they're like, I want to know what happens next for this, for Paul, for the Fremen, like what's going to happen.
And that makes me more understanding. Like you say, they bring up all these, different factions, characters, points that are going to be addressed in the second part. And it makes me more understanding of being, because I did feel a little bit bombarded by all the names, but I had to slow down and think, well, they need to do that. It's like required that they bring it up now, so then it's suspenseful for the next one. So I kind of need to shut the fuck up when it comes to that complaint. I realized that after the movie. And if you, watch it and you just kind of, it's not that complicated, or at least not now.
Yeah.
But it's a good point about your mom, because I'm glad you brought her up, because sometimes sci-fi, it only has a specific fan base if it's purely sci-fi. But I don't think this is just purely sci-fi.
Yeah.
People who, like there are people who just enjoy like, super long battle scenes, and they do that a lot in anime. I'm an anime fan, but anime does that a lot, where there'll be 10 episodes of just battle scenes and it gets really fucking boring.
Yeah.
Every single battle needs to like make the plot go forward.
Or they'll explain one little mechanic in like super detail for like half an episode, just so then the viewer can understand it in the following battle.
Yeah.
And I think
by that point you don't care anymore.
Exactly.
Because it's just exhausting.
Yeah, it's like, do I need to know like all the rules to the game? Can I just like watch it play out? You know.
And this movie was really good at explaining certain things as for like doing that explanation, but they did it. They did very well. Like with the sand walk thing, that was like a cool little hologram there that he's just watching. I really liked the like explanation how they do the sand walk. Just because I kind of raised a question like, well, how do these guys walk through the desert if there's these giant worms everywhere? So they did that really well, just kind of bringing up these little points that you need to know in order to understand this universe, which is pretty complex, but they didn't overdo it.
Yeah.
So, having read the book, I think a lot of the fanboys of Zendaya who are watching, they want to know, she didn't get a lot of airtime.
No.
In this movie, is she going to be more in this movie in the next one, based on your reading of the story of the book?
Yeah, she plays a really big part in like in the second part of the movie that's going to come out, and also book 2, like really big character. I think they did a really good job of introducing Stilgar, Javier Bardem's character, because he only has like 2 or 3 scenes, but each one you're like, you get his character.
He didn't get a lot of screen time either. Is he going to come back?
Yeah, no, he's big too, because he's Chaney's father, so kind of goes hand in hand. But yeah, no, I think there are some parts. I forgot. There was one point I was trying to make that I completely forgot about. As more like a critique, and I see some fans of the book bringing it up. There's this one scene where they're escaping House, like Atreides, like that area, in an ornithopter, and the Harkonnens are literally using like a laser, right? And a lot of people were saying like, well, if it hits anyone with like a shield, it'll just like cause a nuclear explosion. But the thing is, like, if I remember correctly, I don't think it is like a nuclear explosion. It's supposed to be like kind of like it's a solid explosion, right? But like, I think watching that scene, there were a shit ton of explosions happening because of that laser. So I think it was still like accurate to the book still, you know. But that is probably the one little nitpick that a lot of people who have read the book will like pull out and like, oh, that's not canon, you know, just like.
Well, if I remember the scene, the one you're talking about, the Harkonnens when they
like invade.
When they invade, yeah, there's a lot of explosions going on, and your explanation kind of explains it. Why the explosions almost seemed random at times. So maybe what was happening was, you know, because of the shield, it, you know, ignited or however it works. So
yeah, I just love that detail of like the artillery like slowing down to get through the shield and then detonating. Like, I think that's so cool. Like, it's so trippy, and you're like, oh shit, that's a cool attention to detail.
And there's so many of those in this movie, you know, the sandstorm, the equipment they're using, the worm. I mean, there's a lot of really cool parts in this movie.
Yeah, and I like how like the sandstorm scene, like even though it seemed like utter chaos, it still like had a function where you kind of understand like, okay, Paul's like tapping into something that we don't know, and so we kind of get to see like what he's all about, right?
Yeah.
Like, why is he like the chosen one or whatever, you know? And I think that's a cool way of like showing it without having to go into like in-depth explanation that like the book does, because the book goes super deep. Like this, it's like those anime scenes where like it only really works in a book, right?
For those of you, or for those who haven't watched or haven't read the book, would you recommend anybody who watched the movie to read Dune?
Yo, honestly, yeah, I would recommend reading the book. If you can't get through it, if you find yourself pausing, like getting lost or something, what I recommend actually is there's a really good YouTube channel that does like an hour to 2 hour long like summaries of each of the books. And honestly, it's a really good way to kind of get like it's almost like a chaser for the book, where like it gives you all the general information and like a summary of the book. So then when you do read the book, you get all like the nice, like juicy tidbits, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, for those of you who watched the movie and, you know, hearing about it, like myself who didn't read the book, I might check it out.
Yeah. I mean, check out the audiobook because it's like a full like cast reading. So that's really cool.
I have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, there's like when you read it, you can tell it's like why it's so big in like pop culture, or like what it ended up like. Basically, it's like that meme where it's like Dune could walk, so like Star Wars and Game of Thrones could run, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that Apple TV Plus is making a show based off Foundation, because Foundation and Dune are like the two like sci-fi books that like really like push the genre, is what I've heard at least. But you can really see like elements from both in a lot of modern day sci-fi.
Part of my brain was thinking when I was watching the movie, and I saw the Imperial Army come in, or Special Forces. I thought, this looks a lot similar to Star Wars. Did they steal from Star Wars? But this was written in 1965, so it's actually the opposite. Like you said, like Dune is the original sci-fi story, which all these other subsequent stories took inspiration from.
Yeah,
so
the Jedi are based off
cool.
the Bene Gesserit, so yeah. And like I think George Lucas straight up said that too. Like he was inspired by the Bene Gesserit to make the Jedi.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like I need to give some like negatives or like cons for the movie, because I feel like I'm just kind of like
we talked a little bit about like the ending, which was a little bit weird, but understandable given what the book.
I heard that people who watched it in theaters wished there were subtitles, because sometimes the dialogue was a little bit too quiet compared to the music.
Okay,
and the ambient noise.
I thought that was my laptop. Is that the movie itself?
I think it's the movie itself. I think that critique literally just comes down to like a technical one, where it's just like, oh damn. It kind of like that episode of Game of Thrones where it's like no one can see shit because it's so dark.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like that, but for sound design.
That's a shame, because I really thought there was just something with my laptop, and but at the same time, the action scenes, the volume was like super loud, and then they're like whispering the next scene.
You know, the thing is though, I did not notice it at all, because I'm like, I always watch movies with subtitles on, mainly because like, you know, my mom's Korean, so I grew up watching every show or movie with subtitles. And also it was kind of like a thing in like my screenwriting class back in college, where like you're encouraged to watch it with subtitles just so you don't miss anything. So I think I didn't notice it because of that. And I completely understand people who want to be able to watch it without subtitles, because you just want to see all the eye candy, because it's a beautifully filmed movie, you know? So
yeah, this movie did very well. I loved it. Chad, who read the book, loved it. And if you have HBO Max, or you know what, actually see it in theaters. It's worth the money. Visually really, really appealing. So definitely check it out.
Yep.